Harmony, would you mind doing verification of quorum?
Yes. Director Alex Cook,
Here.
Director Van Vliet,
Here.
Director Doherty,
Here.
Director Tim Cook,
Here.
President Griffiths,
Here.
President Cormett.
All right, thank you. We're going to move on to approval of the minutes. And board, you'll see some new minutes up there because I did have I needed to have amended. And that was on one of the approvals where I had said no. So I would like to make a motion to approve the minutes as amended. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
I'm in favor. Motion carried.
Thank you. We're going to move on to public official comments. And I see you guys can arm wrestle over. Dale's pointing. They're each pointing to each other. So it is the Dale and Darcy show. Who's coming up? All right. Thank you, Council Member Dale Welty, for being here.
Thank you for having us. Anyway, I just want to say thanks to everybody who came to the State of the City. It was a great event. The POA represented and of course, the Canyon Lake Chamber announced their new board. So it was a great event. Just want to say appreciate the space that we were able to use, and definitely for the community turnout. It was pretty good. So we were very impressive. We have Mayor Jeremy is just amazing. He gets up and did a great story. And his weakest thing he does is he compliments everybody, but he never compliments himself. So I just want to say, what the council does is under his great leadership. So I don't say that often, but again, as he's saying how great everybody is, I'm saying, but you're missing yourself. So of course, on November 11th, Veterans Day, we'll have celebration in the park. So if everybody could be aware of that and come down and join us, it'd be a great day. The other thing is we are having a turkey drive on November 17th. So anyone that has a little bit extra funds available, go get yourself a turkey, bring it down to the center, and we'll get it off to somebody in need. So really appreciate any support we can get for that. And again, the city usually has been the first Wednesday, which would be tomorrow. It's been changed to the second Wednesday on a fairly permanent basis. So that's at 6:30. That's a week from today, a weekend, one day from today. So anyway, thank you. That's all I have.
I have a question for you. If someone can't make it to the store and buy a turkey, but they'd like to make a cash donation, can they do that?
I suspect they would not. I think it's Helping Hands that's driving a lot of this. I'm sure you could drive up there and give them a check. I don't think they would say no.
Okay, so like a gift card at Stater Brothers or something, they would always be good with.
Yeah, I bet you they would find a good use. But they do. This isn't the only time of the year they get food out. They're kind of always trying to help. So anything would help.
As a subtle hint to everyone who doesn't go grocery shopping to maybe just get a gift card. Thank you. And now to President Darcy Burke. Welcome.
Thank you, President Griffiths. Council, staff, residents, and guests, just a couple things today. So actually this afternoon, Metropolitan Water District announced that they had a grant for residential turf replacement. So it's $3.25 a square foot, which is huge. And they also have additional money for commercial at $3 a square foot. So if you're interested, if the POA is interested, if you have a business in Elsinore Valley service area that would like to remove what they call useless turf, I'm not going to use that word, but they do, you would be eligible if you call ahead of time. What tends to happen is people rip them out, the grass or whatever, they get super excited, but staff actually has to see it prior and then inspect it after. So if you call the district and ask for Haley, she'll be able to help you. There should be information on the website too. So I know that for a while the residential went away, but as of today, it came back, and I don't think the money will last very long. Elsinore Valley also received a $80 million grant for septic to sewer in parts of Wildemar and Lake Elsinore that are known as Sedco Hills and the Avenues. We have been trying to get that area converted to sewer for at least 20 years. So it's a severely disadvantaged area within the community, and so that those funds will go a long way. So you may see our staff out in that area if you happen to drive through. actually going door to door to talk to people to register. This is absolutely no cost to individuals to hook up to sewer, which is a huge saving. I think it's like $12,000 to $15,000 per household. Not to have the 74 corridor forgotten, we've also been notified that we'll be giving a significant grant. I think that one's $75 million to connect different parts of the county that are on the 74 from septic to sewer, and that includes some of the areas of Meadowbrook. So that is also my service area. So that's farther down the road, but we're in the process. As we're expanding our regional plant, the more wastewater we can get in, the more recycled water we can push out. And it actually is just a win-win for everyone. Maintaining a septic system is not pleasant. And when you are looking at some impoverished areas, the money to do the pumping and the treatment, it's just not readily available. And then you tend to have a lot of issues. So we're looking forward to those improvements going in. And so for the next year and a half, you'll see a lot of activity in those areas. And then hopefully we'll move to the 74. I wanted to thank people again for being more efficient, and it's supposed to rain. I'm going to take the umbrella out of my car tonight to ensure that it rains tomorrow. So please turn your sprinklers off. Actually, if you're outside right now, you'll notice it's quite cool. You don't need to have your sprinklers on. You could actually shut them off, right? So the more we can save now, the less mandates will come from our governor and as we move forward. Colorado River is having some very tenuous negotiations. The United States Bureau of Reclamation is really looking to hammer down on Southern California's water use, and we're going to have to negotiate. But I will also tell you that we're all lawyering up because, as I said before, whiskey's for drinking and water's for fighting. So California's perspective is that we've done our part. We've spent billions of dollars in water use efficiency improvements, in fallowing programs, and we are actually storing almost 2 million acre feet in Lake Mead right now. So we're asking for other people to step it up. So it'll be an interesting time as we move forward. Realize that this region is about 70% dependent on imported water. That's from the State Water Project. Our allocation last year was a whole 5%. And if we take off the Colorado River, it's not going to be a very pleasant time and also be very difficult for businesses to continue. And obviously one of our main primary objectives besides public health and safety, which is first and foremost, is economic viability and resiliency. So if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer. Oh, one other thing. I think Councilman Welty forgot that they appointed Mark Terry to replace Mayor Pro Tem Larry Green. So no offense, Dale, I just didn't want to forget Mark. Yeah, I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions for President Berg? No.
Great. So
Oh, and yeah, great point.
we are doing coffee with Mayor Smith the second Wednesday of every month now to coincide with the city council meeting. So it'll be next Wednesday, the 9th, the Country Club at 7:30. Please join us. If you have questions or concern, we're happy to discuss them. And actually, it's been really interesting, the number of different things that we've been able to talk about. I think one of the best things that's happened over the last 4 years is really the POA, the city, and the water district are working much better together. And in the end, that's better for our residents. Is that it?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next we're going to move on to a recognition award. And this is for the Canyon Lake Women's Club, who just had their 50th anniversary in October. I had the pleasure of joining the club just a few months ago, thanks to Shauna sending me an invite and letting me know about a chili cook-off that I wanted to participate in. It was a heck of a lot of fun. Amazing women. And one of the things when they went through their presentation, because my first meeting was their 50th anniversary, was that this club over the last 50 years has raised and given away over $600,000. A lot of this to the community, certainly members who are in need, but the benches that just, the list was long. There's a great article in the Friday Flyer that just came out about it. So I was just in shock and amazed. So we want to present an award, if you wouldn't mind coming up. We'll come over here, but it's just, I can shout, it's a certificate of appreciation. And ladies, if you haven't joined, it's a good group to check out. All right, next we have a presentation by the FPC Chair, Mr. Steve Liebring. Welcome.
Thank you for having us tonight. I have with me from the Garden Community Club, Chris Papavero and Kelly Lopez, and they're going to give just a brief statement at the end of this. So because this presentation is about 7 or 8 minutes long, I'd like to just go straight through it without questions, and we have time for questions or answers or anything like that at the end if you can. So get.
So Steve, just for context, we're going to put on the screen, because the presentation has 4 pieces. We made real quickly, we made a legend on Google, and you can see in the lower right-hand corner is segment A. Up above is segment B. At the top is segment C, and over to the left is Evans Park. So just so the people in the room understand what we're talking about.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so why are we here tonight? Basically, this is undeveloped land that's been in the community for 54 years. And the residents are asking that we develop a plan. We're the facilities committee, so we're the long range planning group. So it's brought to us. And so we have done a conceptual plan only, and working with the committee and the community and several other clubs, we've come up with some ideas and suggestions to get this thing kind of started. So that's briefly all we're doing here. That's our role. Those are all the people we've already reached out to over the last 4 or 5 months here in that. And we're happy to continue this process of collecting input for the community through the open workshops or surveys or whatever else the board would desire. So just let us know. This is just overall a conceptual plan, okay? It's just, we're not married to any of the individual items or anything like that. It's just trying to show you how could the space be allocated. You know, you have 5 acres or more of land out there with the 5 different parks. And so there's a lot of room to put a lot of things in, and we're just trying to get the creative juices flowing. So this, one of the key things we want to make sure is that whatever we do would be, of course, drought tolerant, or Darcy's gonna, get mad at us. She's not here. Dang it! Should have done that earlier. We want to continue to explore ideas. We want to try to come up with a blueprint for how to develop it, and then allow the board and the community to fund things as they see as most appropriate. Here's a bunch of ideas that were suggested over the last few years of ways to put things in other areas that we don't have developed. You don't have to put any of these in, or you could put all of these in. There's room for everything here. The plans that we're showing you tonight will show you how all this stuff could actually squeeze in with no trouble, because it's such a large piece of land. But this is just a list to get things kind of started. Having a master plan allows us to visually see what it is that we want to do with this land. Having that map that Eric just showed us shows you where all the parks are. A lot of people don't even know that there are 5 parks closely aligned together like that. So we also want to talk about the fact that we haven't done any actual costs on any of these items or anything like that. This is just a kind of a wish list of things. It's just to get everything. You can minimize it or maximize it to whatever you want. This is what the park used to look like millions of years ago. This is what it looks like now. So we've come a long way. This is, you can't see, I get that, but this is a conceptual drawing that was drawn by one of our volunteers and just showed how things could kind of piece in, how the land is just nicely allows for many things. So that's just the idea that we'd want to present some concepts or things like this to the community through workshops and surveys to say, hey, what do you think of these kind of ideas? This is more of what we're thinking of in that we want to say, hey, if we're going to build a nice new park, let's have a nice entrance. It could be as little as the left or as lavish as the right, you know, it's just, we want to make it look world class. Some of the things that were suggested was having a community garden in that. So this would be an ideal opportunity and locations for places like that. These are some of the local gardens that are in the Lake Elsinore, Riverside, San Marcos area, you know, around us, and you can see what they look like. So these are just ways to see what it can develop and look like other than just that dirt set of weeds that we had before. A learning center that can be used for many things besides gardening, but that would certainly be nice. A serene area like a Zen garden to relax in. How about a rock garden or a fairy garden for the kids? We would have all sorts of signage throughout the park. You know, we want to create walking trails and stuff like that. This community is lacking a lot of places to walk where you're not in the streets all the time and you're with traffic and stuff like that. So this is an opportunity to actually link 5 parks together, and the only streets that we need to use are little local residential streets with very low volumes on them and that. So it's an opportunity to do something like that. This is the area that is existing. It's north of Outrigger on the scale of things. It's already currently developed, but there's so many more things that could go in there. These are just some suggestions of what could possibly go in to the existing park. We have a sand area out there that just has nothing on it but just sand. It could be a net or it could be a children's maze. You could do something like this for the kids. You can add fruit trees. You can make use of the big giant grass area that's in the drainage ditch there and hold yoga classes or something. This is the third area of the park. This is behind the homes. It's primarily a drainage ditch that feeds into this park here that's already developed, but it could be extending the walking path. It currently has bicycle humps, you know, that the kids ride over and make use out of like that. But lots of little things that could go back here. You see it's a pretty large piece of land. And so there's even room in there if you want to put a small little miniature putting greens or other kinds of things like that. There's areas to do stuff with. Altogether, this 5 parks linking together creates about a 1.1 mile loop to walk, which is great for exercise and relaxation and stuff like that. So that's one of our things that we're looking at and saying is if we're going to look at a master plan, connect it, not only Outrigger, but connect it to the existing Evans Park. This is Evans Park, north and south, for lack of a better term, the north being north of Schooner. And right now that is one giant 100 by 100 foot piece of grass and grass only. And it's a drainage ditch in the middle of it. But you could put a variety of things that are shown there or whatever you like. In the southerly one, you know, go ahead. So these are some of the suggestions, things that kids can have play with. Tetherball, swings. This is the southerly one. It's a much bigger piece of property. It has currently some workout stations that the Boy Scouts put in. It has some walking trails already there, but the rest of it is primarily just grass. So some of the suggestions could be to upgrade maybe some of that equipment, similar like that you're doing at Vacation Park, and enhance the walking path with fruit trees and herb gardens. A Frisbee golf course, there's room for fixing something like that in this kind of an area, if that would be a desire of the community. Zen garden can be drought tolerant, like this one is shown, so that you could take that grass out. Apparently we can get $3 a square foot now. We should really help pay for a lot of this. So that's a great deal if we can do some more drought tolerant stuff like that. So In summary, these are just concepts. It's all we're here tonight is just to introduce this to the board. It's just a long-range plan basically is to decide how do you want to allocate the space. That's the key that we want to do. We don't want to put something in one area without a plan and then go to want to put something else in and say, wow, I wish we hadn't done that. You know, we got that in the wrong place. We need to pick it up and move it, or that's all I got. So we want to continue to work together with the board and the community to seek the input of everybody to make sure that we got the right guidance and that we can come up with improved parklands for our community. One of the things we want to do is make sure that this is a project that is communicated to the public that it can easily be phased. Okay, it's 5 individual parks. You can pick any portion of any one of the 5 parks to start projects in. But again, our only thing is we want to have everybody have kind of an overall vision before you start doing anything so we can kind of see. No funds are being asked for tonight or anything that way there. We just want to continue the communication process between the community members and the board. So tonight, what we're recommending is that the FPC could hold workshops and surveys to solicit input from the community to confirm the amenities and features that the community is desiring. And then we could develop a long-range plan for these 5 areas. Or if you want to just go ahead and take a vote right now, you can authorize the preparation for a conceptual plan to be developed. And with that, we answer any questions you have. But before you do, I'd like to have Kelly just give a short little blurb, okay? Thank you.
What brought many of us here is a desire that is shared by many Canyon Lake residents to have a community garden in Canyon Lake and also develop the unused portion of land south of Outrigger Park. The desire for a community garden was first presented to the Recreation Committee last February. At that time, I was advised to start a sanctioned club, become a 501c3 and raise funds. We've done that. Now we're asking, along with the Facilities Planning Committee, for the next step. Funds for a landscape architect to design a plan for undeveloped land in Canyon Lake that would incorporate hopefully not just a community garden, but other amenities that the community has expressed a desire for over the last 5 years. I've lived in Canyon Lake for over 40 years and have seen every park become much more useful and beautiful over time. We're hoping to see that happen with the area presented to you tonight. That being said, our club's main desire is to have a space where gardeners can garden together and teach individuals and groups to garden. Where this is and how it looks is up to the POA board. Other clubs have venues for their activities. We're asking for a place to garden together as a community. Concerns that have been voiced over the last few months are cost, water use in a drought, space, maintenance, and wildlife problems. I can't answer every possible question in detail in the time I'm allotted, but have written up some answers to potential questions that I would like to share with you. I have some handouts here if anyone would like them. Some key points that might be helpful are: community members have gathered over 200 signatures showing that there's interest in developing Outrigger South, as well as starting a community garden. Our club wants to apply for potential grants for a community garden. We want to raise funds and look for donations and sponsors to help offset costs. The use of drip irrigation is water efficient. Over 40 raised beds and a shaded area for group activities can easily fit on an average Canyon Lake sized lot. Our club wants to help with maintenance as much as we're allowed. And a thriving community garden is an active and busy one. Pests don't thrive in busy environments. Thank you.
So if we have any questions or anything,
Any,
we're happy to
any
answer.
questions by the board?
I'd just like to thank you for coming forward. It's, we always appreciate hearing from our community members. I think you've given us certainly some creative and good suggestions on how we can continue to improve some of the areas around us. And I think one of the things we probably have to deliberate as a board is just that within the scope of all the other activities that are that are and requests that we have going forward. But I really appreciate your input and thought that you've given to this.
Any other questions or
No
comments?
comment. Steve, good presentation. With you, I walked this property early on in the process, and it's quite a large piece of property. And I think you can look at these slides and try to get an idea of where these ideas might be come to fruition. But anyone that hasn't walked that property and has the time to do it as part of your own research into this process and this project, you might one day take a walk from north to south on Canyon Lake Drive, or south to north rather, and just look at this property. It's quite an impressive piece of property. So good job. Thank you, guys.
Kelly, great job. Steve, you too. This piece of property, I walked it with Dale Welty. God, it feels like 10 years ago. We walked it a long time ago with some of these ideas that long ago. So it's nice to see some community involvement because I felt like it was just Dale and I with all these ideas. But so I really appreciate you guys bringing these to the whole board and to the community, these ideas. Thank you.
Any other comments? So my comments on this is specifically to the community garden, because I had spoken with Darcy Burke, and one of the things when she first heard about it several months ago, she was excited about it being on already on particular, if it was going to be on an area that already had water. And she was even suggesting that she might, I'm not committing her to that, but she might be able to get grants for the drip systems to put in. But what would have to come before it in the board discussion too, and this is crucial, while you said clubs, like Ski Club has their thing, that's on water that was already there. And we were, there's a lot of other clubs that don't. You can say that, well, the Bass Club has the lake as well. Other clubs don't. So if we were going to, if the board were going to say, we're going to approve a community garden, the community, now it can become a lottery, because who gets to choose who gets to tend to that garden? And that's where I think it could get kind of interesting, because if we're using members' land to place anything, and I don't care where the land is in developed, undeveloped outrigger, new developed outrigger, whatever it is, but I just want, it would be something good to talk through to help us understand what happens if the board chooses to approve 20 beds in wherever it's going to be, drip systems, but now we do a lottery and no one who's on the community garden, because there's 4,800 people who get to put their name in there, get that bed. And what would that be like for you? So those are some of the things that just go through my mind. I do appreciate the presentation. I think it's always wonderful to see what this community can grow into. Certainly, we've seen a lot of that happen with Vacation Park and how amazing that is. So I do appreciate you guys taking your time to come in. So thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, I don't think we have any announcements. No. Do we? No. Do you want to announce anything? Okay, good. Okay, we're going to go and move on to member comments. So just to remind you, this is in the beginning of the session only. So if you haven't had a chance to fill out the member comment form and you'd like to, please do that and get that over to Harmony. And I think you have some, Harmony?
Yes, our first is Rita Benlin.
Am I on? Yeah. Rita Benlin, track 3718 and lot 57. Basically, I'm here for good news, talking more about what we call CR, or Celebrating Recovery. This is a county organization, of course, with the county, and what it does is it connects the churches and it connects the county in the sense that they're working together to help with all of the homeless, all of the things throughout the county. And I just wanted to see if there was a way we can advertise this more. The state representative is Tom CLPOA, which is I know him personally, and you mentioned earlier about the turkey, which is with Larry Evans. He also is in charge of Helping Hands. So these are just what I want to do as a works of heart is connect the two, because I'm able to know both sides of the story, so to speak. And so what I'm trying to do is advertise, for example, this is nationwide too. I have a son that's a pastor in Colorado, and he even does this. And what it does is help people. Many know that I went back to work because of the rate of suicides that were happening. So this was something that reached my heart. I'm working on my handicaps, which is the technology, but I do want to make sure that we can make more aware. And I would love to leave this with you. And if you need any information, you can talk to the state representative. And many of the pastors and churches and all religions, I'm fortunate enough to know a lot about religion. And so I'm able to speak to any domination that there is. So I just wanted to make that, if we can keep these and get more, so people are aware that there's more than just going to the county or your doctor, but this is all free. And so I just wanted to make that announcement. And thank you for letting me speak. It was a last minute thing. I have a class tonight, so I might have to leave early. Thank you. And can I leave this with you, Renee?
You leave it right up there. I'll grab it after. Thank
Sure.
you. Thanks for coming in, Rita.
Okay. I'll leave it.
Thank you. Our next is Travis Montgomery.
Travis Montgomery, 3863010. I'm here to make some comments regarding the community garden project. I live near this unimproved area and I see it every day when I go to my mailbox. And there's others who've been doing that for 30 to 50 years looking at this unimproved area. It's quiet and it's pretty non-intrusive on the adjacent residences at this time. It's also ugly. And most homeowners would be fined if they kept their property in this condition. And I think Steve's pictures didn't do justice to how ugly this area is. And a little bit of rain and one thing pops up and another. I think the development of a community garden is a great idea that would enhance the property and provide opportunity for other passive uses in the area as were shown. It's been set aside for 50 years, and I think this is probably the largest piece of property the POA has that hasn't been improved and developed through the years. And here's a good opportunity to do that. Also a walking connection, as was mentioned, that could be developed with Evans Park would be really good. And you wouldn't have to walk out on the highway, as has been said, but it would be great. One thing you might want to check on when you were talking about the water district, I live within 4 doors of this. My water provider is Eastern Municipal Water District. So I don't know whether that property is EVMWD and would be eligible for their grants, or you'd need to go to EMWD and check with them for their grants. I don't know where those lines, cross in that area, but I think the development of this area for a community garden to start with, that's probably the simplest and easiest thing to do. In the Outrigger Park area adjacent, closer to Canyon Lake Drive North would be a good place to start, and you can grow from there, but it would, and certainly starting something more on the south side there would be an improvement to the visual area as you drive in and out through that gate, because you drive through there and you see this ugly spot. So attention to that area first, I think, would be good. So that's all I had to comment on. Thank you.
Thank you, Travis.
Next, we have Stephen Prince.
Hi, good evening. My name is Stephen Prince, and it's 3863271. So the following are reasons that I would be asking for support for the beautification, the functionality, and the cleanup of the eyesore that's known as Outrigger Park. When it rains, we call it the green belt, but now it's the dirt belt. I gathered around 70 signatures from all the people right around Bahia, Canyon Lake Drive North, and Outrigger. Not one person refused to sign the petition. I got about 70 names as I was walking around, but residents were excited that something positive may actually happen. And like Travis said, I believe this area is one of the ugliest pieces of raw land left in Canyon Lake. We moved here 8 years ago. Auto Club had been our home insurance where we used to live in Orange. They denied us coverage here in Canyon Lake because they saw that as a fire hazard. The grass grows up high. Operations occasionally comes around. We had to call them because the grass used to grow very high. It really was dangerous. And now operations does occasionally come by and they plow it, but then it grows back. Many people, including us who surround this eyesore, have been promised for many years that it will be developed, not left as raw land. Real estate agents often told prospective buyers that it would be made into a park of some kind. And we were told that as well by the selling agent. In fact, one gentleman that lives in Bahia, he's been there 25 years. He says, oh yeah, my real estate agent told me this was going to be a park. Look at that, it's an eyesore. This next one is very serious. Coyotes are often seen in the tall grass, especially in the early AM. Occasionally, you can hear them howling in the night to celebrate that they made a kill of someone's pet. Our old neighbor, 2 doors down, lost their dog a while back as the dog was pulled through their fence and devoured by coyotes. Coyotes would be a lot less likely to roam around if there was activity in the area and it was developed. Right now, they hide out in the middle of Outrigger where they look for prey. And if you ever want to come by, I don't know who has dogs or pets, they disappear on Outrigger Drive and Bahia. Rats often come into the backyards of the homes that border the area. I personally have taken several rats out of our pool, and I was talking to my next door neighbor. She said, oh yeah, rats come in here all the time. They jump over from the Greenbelt, well, I call it the Greenbelt, Outrigger Park, and they crawl into their backyard. And the beauty of the park would be
Sorry.
Did I do something?
Stephen, no, we're at 3 minutes.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'm almost done. The beauty of the park would be a benefit to all of the home property values that surround the park. And I want to thank the community gardeners for all they have done. And I just hope that we have a positive outcome and we can beautify more of Canyon Lake. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't mean to run over. First time here.
Next, we have Kevin Edwards.
I was an actor for 15 years. I don't usually do non-union gigs, but that's. You want some of my time? You want some of my time? Oh, no.
Kevin Edwards, 3863257, also Outrigger Drive. Been here in the community for almost 30 years. Been a member of many of the clubs. We were told when we moved in also that that was going to be a park. That's what we expected. You know, and again, that was 28 years ago, 29 years ago. Nothing's been done. Okay. As Steve said, it's just a huge eyesore. I don't know if you remember, just recently we had the infestation on one of the homes, one of the vacant homes. The rats, and the coyotes come for the rats, and just ongoing issues with that developed or that undeveloped area. So I'd like to see something done there. You know, people I notice now, they were going out of the community to go walking. They go across the Salt Creek Trail. You know, something like this could be developed into a small trail, keep the people inside the community, and just want to say thank you for what you guys are doing, but also if we can move forward on this project, it'd be fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kevin.
Next is Tina Visser.
Tina Visser, 3961040. I just have a question. Nothing happens at Fairway Estates. No upgrades, no street repairs. We look at bushes in the golf course. Our gates break all the time and our main stayed open all the time. The gate that takes you out by the golf cart that leads you into town center, it's been broken for 2 weeks. And my question is, why we pay the same as everybody else does? We have no park. We have nothing over there. We have to go to this side to enjoy the amenities. Why can't we put a little park by us? Or why do we have to be neglected? And that's how we feel over there. There's a lot of us that feel that way. So my question is why no upgrades over there? And that's it.
Thank you, Tina, for coming in. Appreciate that.
Last, we have Joe Commission.
Good evening. Joe Commission, 3716-124. Got a few things. Hopefully I can squeeze it in the 3 minutes. First of all, I want to congratulate staff, Eric and Steve and the staff on an outstanding job on the remodel to the country club. It came out beautiful, both the interior and the patio deck. The canopy is really nice. I know they've talked about a canopy for many years, and we had envisioned all kinds of different styles, but this one seems to be not only attractive, but practical. So well done. And to Darcy's comment about the rebate from the Water District, I'd like to share with the community that in 2015, the Water District had a $3 rebate. I had 2 properties totaling about 10,000 square feet of grass that I converted, and I took advantage of it completely. The rebate money paid completely for a complete irrigation system and planting. It also saved me on each property about $100 a month on my water bill. So it is absolutely a wonderful opportunity for the members of the community that have grass area that they want to convert. So I would encourage that. And I'm happy to talk to anybody if they want to get more information. 2 things that are on the agenda that I wanted to talk about is the item that refers to changing the tea time allocations for the different groups. And I just like to question the thought process of the board when they certainly they extended the annual membership for the residents to a 14-day tea time reservation, which is fine. Then they bring non-annual resident members priority with 10 days of tea time, advanced tea time. And then the third group is the outside members, which don't live here, but they're paying $3,000 each person to participate in the golf course. And it is a real boost to our revenue. And to treat them, you know, maybe not exactly right term, but as a third-rate citizen in our community, I don't think is the right move. And I don't know what the advantage is to give residents who aren't committed to an annual fee and really aren't committed to golf that might play once or twice a month or less to advance tee times over people who are committed to our golf course and support it, not only with their annual golf. Oh, okay. Well, another reason for my point about being able to speak on agenda items. So I will not press the issue.
Thank you, Joe.
No more.
No more? All right, thank you, everyone. We're going to go ahead and move to the consent agenda. Are there any items that this board would like to have pulled from that? It's 2 items. No? Do I hear a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
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 All right. Any
Aye.
opposed?
5 in favor, motion carried.
Great, and we're going to tackle this very long list that we have, starting with item 8.1, approval proposed revised committee charter, special events committee. Lynn?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you. Okay, so staff has put together this proposed revised charter for a new committee called the Special Events Committee. So a little background on this. Recently, we've seen an increase in annual special events hosted and co-hosted by the CLPOA with various sanctioned clubs. In addition, we've had a few members of our current Fiesta Day committee retire. With increased events and changes in the Fiesta Day committee, staff felt this would be an opportunity to restructure this committee. Staff is recommending to disband the Fiesta Day committee and create a special events committee specifically. The committee would work with the activities department to help plan and coordinate the annual special events sponsored and co-sponsored by the CLPOA and assist with planning those events throughout the year. The current Fiesta Day committee members are encouraged and invited to apply for the special events committee along with all other eligible members. The annual budget for this special events is planned and prepared through our activities department. So I can go to the charter. Would you like me to go over the red line revisions, Madam President?
I'm okay if you don't, unless anyone else on the board wants her, Lynn, to read the entire revised charter. I think we're good.
Okay. Did you did you want me to list off currently the events that we were including initially?
Yes,
And
please.
some direction? Okay,
Yes,
so
please.
as a lot of you in here know that are in clubs, there's hundreds of things going on throughout the year, but what we're regarding in regards to these specific events being hosted by the CLPOA, our activities department currently plans and prepares the large community events that all members are encouraged and invited to attend. I shouldn't say allowed. So the events that would be included are Fiesta Hopper, Taco Tuesday, Movie Night, Maui Sunday, 9/11, the annual golf cart and toy drive parade, and then the boat parade. And then those events that are co-hosted by the POA, we'd work with those clubs. But this is the primary function is to assist with the annual community events, not the individual specific club events. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Is there a motion?
I have a motion to table this item until there's a better definition of special events, which I don't think exists in this proposed document.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah, as I understand it, this, we used to have a Fiesta Day committee, which was for one, and now we're kind of basically broadening that to go beyond Fiesta Day, but all kind of special events. Is that correct? Is that a correct assumption?
Yes, sir, that's
Okay,
correct.
So it's not like we're just we're giving up on Fiesta Days or anything like that.
Correct.
We're taking what existed and actually performed quite well and having a group of people that will help us with multiple activities.
Correct. Our current Fiesta Day committee is down to 3 members at this point.
Do we intend to have open up, how does the membership go for that committee then as we reconstitute this?
So we advertise regularly all our committees that have openings, and we've had that listed. We've had a few people attend, and we asked for volunteers also, but the participation in that particular committee, the membership has, some of them have retired.
Great, thank you, Lynn.
And normally Fiesta Day, they would start working on it, what, in December?
Yes, so
Okay.
it's about 6 months, that committee. They usually have their first meeting in January, and then they run through June till after Fiesta Day. It's a pretty busy group.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, just so my view is clear. I don't think this is necessarily a bad idea. We know that the definition of special events will include Fiesta Day. That's obvious, but I think that we need to, again, pin it down more definitively before we go forward with this.
Understood.
So we have a motion to table and a second. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor of tabling this item until we have a little bit more definition in writing of the specific club, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
5 in favor, motion carried.
Thank you, Lynn. So what's the next one? Moving on to 8.2, committee members' appointment and committee policy update. Lynn?
Yes, so annually we have the committee renewals. So in light of the new committee policy requirements for CLPOA committees and in preparation for this annual reappointment of committee members, it has been requested to make one policy modification for board review and to present the committee's recommendations for their chairs. Some of the recommendations in yellow do not match the new requirements for a chairperson change after 24 months and explain their requests. In addition to these requests for an extension, some of the committees were not able to meet in time to make their new chairperson recommendation. It's recommended that the Board of Directors approve or reject the revised committee policy, the reappointment of standing committee members, and the recommended chairpersons as attached.
Thank you, Lynn. Is there a motion?
I have a motion to amend this proposal. In here, it indicates that the current chairmanship of the rec committee is vacant. And the fact is that the rec committee voted that Joe Grasso be chairman approximately 3 weeks ago. So I would amend this, make a motion that his name be inserted as chairman and he be approved as chairman.
Do I have a second to that motion?
Second.
All right, so going through the list, if you guys want to take your time and any board comments, you want to go through and look at the ones that are highlighted in yellow and any discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to bring up a point on discussion on this, and that is one of our policies is to encourage, in fact, we just voted on a policy last session where we said the chairpersons are going to get 2 years. It used to be extendable, but we just said now 2-year term now. And the reason for that is because we, like the board, it's helpful to get new ideas and more community involvement and more people involved in that. And so one of the things as we go through this, we want to encourage more participation, broader participation from throughout the community. And so where we have members that have, and we've got many committees actually where we've had members and chairpersons who've been there for a number of years, and we benefit from their knowledge and their wisdom, but we can also benefit by bringing in more new people as well to engage in the community. And so to the extent we do not have alternates for that, I think it's important that we go forward and at a minimum require our committees, if they've been a member for multiple years or are nearing the end of their term, that we identify potential individuals who can step up or be trained to take that leadership position in the future. So I think that at a minimum we ought to make as at least certainly a goal, if not a policy, for the chairs.
Okay. Any other discussion? All right, so all in favor of approving the committee member appointments as amended, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
5 in favor, motion carried.
Thank you, Harmony. On to 8.3, Rules Review Committee member appointment. Amanda?
The Rules Review Committee charter outlines that the committee is to be made up of 7 members plus 1 alternate, and 1 vacancy has opened since the instatement of the committee. And the committee met at their last meeting and has proposed to recommend Eddie Valdez, who is the current alternate, take that vacancy.
Wonderful. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of approving, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
5 in favor, motion carried.
You're up next. 8.4, Security Advisory Committee member appointment.
So this is very similar. Our new Security Advisory Committee has recently had 2 vacancies open, and the committee has voted to recommend 2 members, Chris Hickok and Tony Schwartzman, take the regular vacancy and then 1 alternate vacancy.
Great. Is there a motion?
Moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of approving, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
5 in favor, motion carried.
Thank you. We're on to Steve Schneider. 8.6, approval Tuesday Workgroup Committee members.
I think we're 8.5.
FPC?
You know what? I got so excited with Tuesday Work Group since I joined, and I love them, and it's an amazing work group. I apologize for that. You're up for FPC.
All right, good evening. Greg Cooligan was selected for an open position on the Facilities Planning Committee. The FPC committee also selected Chris Parviro and Jeff Bill to fill the alternate positions. The FPC unanimously accepted these members as committee representatives. As recommended, the Board of Directors approved the appointment of Greg Cooligan to serve on the FPC committee, and also recommended the Board of Directors approve Chris Parviro and Jeff Bill as alternates on the FPC committee, all contingent upon execution of a confidentiality agreement effective immediately.
Thank you, Steve. Do I hear a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion? Board discussion? All right. All in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
5 in favor, motion carried.
Now we're going to move on to the Tuesday Work Group, the amazing work group.
John DeYoung was selected for an open position on the Tuesday Work Group Committee. The TWG committee also selected Susan Fitzgerald to fill the alternate position. The TWG unanimously accepted these members as committee representatives. It's recommended the Board of Directors approve the appointment of John DeYoung and to serve on the TWG committee, and is also recommended the Board of Directors approve the appointment of Susan Fitzgerald as an alternate on TWG committee, all contingent upon the execution of a confidentiality agreement effective immediately.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
Moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All right. All in favor of approving, say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed?
5 in favor, motion carried.
Thank you. And now we're going to go to 8.8 to revise role. This is an approval. 8 point, gosh, no, we just did 8 points. You know what? I'm Tuesday Work Group again. I am just losing my mind. This is a charter revision for Tuesday Work Group. Steve Schneider, my apologies.
No worries. The TJ Work Group previous had a charter that defined titles of the members, of their members. They also did not have an alternate listed in their charter. The committee requested that this be changed to be the same as other committees. The charter would simply state that the committee shall be composed of 7 members and 1 alternate. The recommended charter is attached to your board book. It is recommended that the board of directors approve the changes of the TWG group committee charter.
Thank you, Steve. Is there a motion?
Motion?
Second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I just have one comment or question. It's a work group as opposed to a committee. And so from a procedural standpoint, our committees are required to have a president or a chairperson, a secretary, and a treasurer, if there's a budgetary thing. Is that required of a work group as well?
So the work groups are under the committee policy still, and I don't know that they have a different charter. Do you know, Lynn?
They currently have
no.
excuse me, they currently have a chairperson.
They announced, they have a chairperson they did, in the charter. Actually, if you look in the document, it says they have identified the secretary and treasurer, but it's not in the charter. And so the only thing I would recommend is that we amend the charter to include those 3 positions, because I think they're required of our committees. Is that correct?
Yes, could I clarify? So normally the charters don't indicate specifically the membership, 1 manager charter, et cetera. That's just in the policy. So I think they were just adjusting it to say 7 members, and then they would designate amongst themselves like the other committees.
In the past, they had those in there. So if it's okay not to have it, then that's fine.
Right, and then Tuesday work groups, because it's just the name and also a work group, that's where it gets a little.
That's fine.
Yes,
Okay.
technicalities.
No? Great, okay. All in favor of approving the Tuesday work group charter revision, say aye.
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 I'm in favor, motion carried.
Thank you. Now we'll go on to 8.8. So this is an approval. The 28D read was actually approved many months ago. It just didn't get back onto the agenda. So the background is resident annual members of Canyon Lake Golf Course currently have the ability to make tee time reservations 10 days in advance. Residents without an annual membership can make reservations 7 days in advance. Non-resident annual members can make reservations 7 days in advance. Residents should have the ability to schedule a tee time before non-resident annual members. And I would say their commitment to the golf course is also paid in their subsidies. Fiscal impact is 0. Recommendation is recommended that the board of directors approve the revised rule GC 9.1. And do you guys want me to read the rule? Are you good with that? Okay. Is there a motion?
Motion approved.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Board discussion?
Yeah, I listened to Joe and his comments, and I don't feel that I have enough information, being a non-golfer especially, not deeply rooted in this topic to make a decision. I'd like to see this tabled.
If I can add to the comment. So if I go back before the red lines, what the prior policy was that annual members could do it 10 days ahead of time, and both non-residents and non-resident annual members could do it on 7 days. Is that correct? So all we're doing is we're making annual resident members longer to do it, and we're basically elevating residents over non-residents. And so I think the comment that was raised from the floor, appreciate, again, floor comments as usual, is that we are potentially disadvantaging our annual residents over our annual non-residents over residents, non-member residents. Okay. Do we know how many annual non-resident members we have?
I don't have that right now. I know, God, I had all the stats before. Was it under 20? Because I know we were looking to add. It's over 20. Yeah. But we wouldn't be changing their status at all. And this is part of just members, people who live here, and that's people who live here and pay their annual dues are second in line to non-residents just because they purchase an annual membership. So it's going back to making certain that if a member wants to make a tea time and they live here, that they will have a better opportunity to get the scheduled tea time ahead of someone who doesn't live here. All right. Any other discussion? You're looking at me.
I was. Yeah, my thought process here, I feel like I need to do a little more homework on this. I'm not quite understanding. We're extending the members' annual memberships and giving them more time, 2 weeks ahead of time. What was wrong with 10 days? I don't know that. I need to talk to some people for myself. I'm just not ready to vote on it.
All right. I can let you know on the 2 weeks, annual members who live in Canyon Lake currently have 10. So if we were going to put regular members ahead of the non-residents, then we have to do something for our annual members who are residents. So that was bumping them up to giving them 2 weeks ahead, since they should have priority since they pay their annual fees to be at the golf course. So it's putting them ahead. So whether it's 12 days or 14 days, the big thing is that they should, when I wrote, they should be front of the line because they are making that commitment, rain or shine. Our annual golf members are paying their annual fee to play on our course. So that's, it's almost like a thank you for that. And then the other ones are just simply because you live here and that you should be ahead of people who don't live here. Similar to what we were talking about when we were proposing rules, or we changed rules with pickleball court and saying members must be present. To me, it goes along those same lines, making sure that members are ahead of just guests or members when they invite guests. So that was the logic behind it. I'm trying to think, this was a different board that approved the 28-day reading, huh? It was in June. Oh, okay. So this was approved in June on a 28-day reading. It just wasn't put forward in July. So this board minus Alex. All right, any more board discussion? All right, all in favor of, was approving, right? Yeah, approving, yeah, that was your motion, the second. All in favor of approving revised rule GC 9.1, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Abstain.
I said aye.
Abstain also.
3 in favor, 2 abstentions, motion carried.
Thank you, moving on. All right. Amanda, 8.9.
This is just an approval to create 2 new rules for the pickleball courts that deal with the player rotation that say no player or team shall play more than 2 games in a row when other players are waiting. And the number of guests that a member can bring will be limited to 3 guests per tract and lot, and a guest is anyone who does not have a POA card.
Thank you. Amanda, is there a motion?
I have a motion to slightly amend this rule. I'm going to ask, this is under PK 2.11, the second part of this rule, entitled Guests Must Be Accompanied by a Member. This is all for clarity. What I'm going to ask Harmony to do is, I gave her a copy of this earlier. Please read the first sentence of PK 2.11, and I will then read the proposed revision. Thank you.
Okay, his proposed addition would be all guests must be accompanied by the member who granted community access to the guest by affording the guest permanent and or temporary guest status.
I don't think that's, I'm sorry, I may have confused you. I apologize if I did. So I'll go ahead and read this, okay? The current sentence first sentence of PK 2.11 reads, all guests must be accompanied by a member carrying a POA card at all times. The proposed revision reads as follows. All guests must be accompanied by the member who granted community access to the guest by affording the guest permanent and/or temporary guest status. Now, this makes the rule for pickleball virtually identical to the Bass Masters Club, which requires a guest to be with the member fishing. So it brings it in line with that, and it's much more clear than the rule we passed a month ago.
Well, this is for an approval, so we would have to go to a new 28-day read.
Okay, all right.
So are you, well, let's separate it out.
Okay.
For right now, let's focus on PK 2.10, just in case of,
Thank
let's
you.
start there, and then we'll
Sure.
separate it out in case we
Thank
need to table the other one.
Great.
Okay, so do we have a motion to approve PK 2.10 on player rotation?
Motion.
Motion.
Any board discussion on PK 2.10 player rotation?
Can I make a comment? I just want to point out that we mimicked the verbiage of the other recent rule change for the pool requiring a POA card. So this verbiage is consistent with the pool rule requiring a CLPOA card. So we may want to also change that one for consistency.
Well, let's finish with, because I want to separate them out, let's finish with rule PK 2.10. So we have a motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion only on PK 2.10 player rotation for approval?
So just for clarification, 2.10 simply says that if there's other people waiting, you can't play more than 2 games. Is that it? Fine, thank you.
Yes.
Any other board discussion on PK 2.10? All right, all in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
Any?
I'm in favor, motion carried.
Okay, now we'll move on to PK 2.11. Guests must be accompanied by a member. And then, is there a motion?
Excuse me, motion to amend? Is that what's needed?
Can we change this to a 28-day read if we want to change the wording on it?
Yes, it would start 28 days over from today.
All right, go, yep. Go ahead and
Move a
make your motion
discussion.
to amend.
I make a motion to amend the first sentence of PK 2.11 as follows. All guests must be accompanied by the member who granted community access to the guest by affording the guest permanent and/or temporary guest status.
Is there a second on that?
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to discuss,
believe
just to bring a
staff
little
has a
clarity
comment.
begins. Just to bring a little, I think the reason for that you're asking for this, and correct me if I'm wrong, Greg, but I think the reason you're asking is I know at least I heard of 2 interpretations of what we approved in the 28-day reading before. One was, and what I thought we voted on was if I call someone in that I have to be there with them on the court. Another interpretation I heard was, well, if you got in, no matter how you got in, if you're on somebody's permanent guest list or whatever, you can just go to the pickleball courts, and as long as there was somebody who was a member, you could play. And because of that confusion, I think that's where you're coming from. Is that correct? Okay.
Correct.
So you're suggesting that the member who calls them in must be present?
Yes. It just tightens up the rule. So the way it's written now, there are a few people that have permanent guest status for people that don't play pickleball. So it kind of is, an open gate to some extent for some people. So this just tightens it up that says the member that called them in or let them in must be present.
My concern with that is, let's say I call my girlfriend in and we're hanging out and she wants to play pickleball and I don't want to, but my neighbor is willing to go down there and play pickleball with her so she could get fined. or I would get fined $100 if she's playing pickleball with my neighbor. Is that what that's saying? Because I called my friend in and she's now playing with my other neighbor friend.
That would be the case, yes.
Is your concern like enforcement? Because there are already other rules in place that explain whoever calls in a guest is ultimately responsible. So I think repeating it here is a little redundant.
I'm sorry, you think what's redundant?
I think by adding that it's the member who specifically called that guest in is duplicating other rules that we already have that clearly state that member is ultimately responsible for whomever they call in. So even if, like in Renee's example, we had a guest who was playing with her neighbor and that guest broke rules, Renee would still be responsible because she called that person in. So, if there were these members who are just giving access to guests, they might think twice because they would ultimately be cited, if that clarifies a little bit.
Well, what I'm trying to do is, as I said earlier, is make this pretty much identical to the rule that I understand applies for the Bassmasters Club and fishing, which apparently works because I've seen it in action. And so we wanted to duplicate that for the pickleball club. But you're thinking this is overreaching to some extent? Is that what you're saying?
I think the way it's currently written is a little more clear. And we recently changed the pool rule to mimic this verbiage. So maybe we can clean up the fishing rule to match this verbiage. So it's a little shorter, a little more concise.
Because the way you're going, you don't even want anybody to play if the member who called them in isn't there. So say my daughter, for example, is in a hurry or something, run away home from work and asked me to call somebody in, but she's going to play with them. She's an associate member, lives here. She can't play with them unless I'm there. But she's still a member of the community, but she didn't call them in, I called them in. So the way yours is, it's only that one only person can be there. Even though my daughter's still a member, she could play with that person, but the way you're reading it, they couldn't.
I understand, and that probably should be addressed. I agree.
Can I ask a question? What do we do in the cases where people, because there's a number of members in our community who have people on their permanent list, and they come and they use our amenities like members, but they don't live here, and they kind of enjoy the same things, and they never go with the member even though they're on that, but they come and use whether it's a pool or fishing or that. Is that something we want to encourage?
Well, they can't go to the pool. Oh, sorry, go.
That's why we did 2.1, so the members got to be present with them.
That's only what he's saying. I'm confused.
Just in things in general, so for a swimming pool, a guest cannot go into the swimming pool without a member present. It doesn't matter whether or not I called them in, but if my same friend wanted to go down to the pool and I didn't want to, but my neighbor did, they could go down to the pool with them. They cannot go down to the pool with just a guest pass and be let in. So the pool's off limits. Golf course was one of the other rules that we changed where while a guest can do it, a guest can go on the course, it's going to cost them, especially on weekends, almost double what it does.
I think that's a different situation.
So, but it's just trying to give members, going back to members first, members priority. So when we look at this as a whole and saying there must be a member with that person, because I am concerned, as we've talked about, where you have someone who's on the indefinite list. And there was a gentleman who is a guest and lives in Corona, and he's like, oh, I'm here on a list till the end of the year. We don't want him necessarily going and enjoying the amenities and making you or any other member here having to wait just because he's on a permanent guest list. So that's where this rule comes in. So a pickleballer could say, well, where's your member? Who brought you here? And if the person's not there, it's a call to a community patrol, and that member will get fined $100.
So I don't think we're enforcing anything then, because if you're on somebody's guest list and you come in, there's always a member down there playing pickleball. And so as long as there's somebody down there who's a member, it may not be somebody called you in or somebody you even know, they can go play. And I don't think that we're actually I don't think it's an enforceable rule at all because there's always a member present. The only thing it'll keep out is people coming in who are non-members from playing alone. And I think that's a very small percentage of people.
I think you would have the pickleball club member, people who are playing there who live here, and if someone strolled on, that they would notify. Well, they should. I mean, there's not a rule in place for them to notify. So if there's a rule in place, if this is approved, then they can call community patrol. Community patrol can come down to that member who's not with a guest.
I would say that could happen. It's feasible, but as a practical matter, that probably would not happen.
That's the purpose of the rule.
Well,
So are you saying we don't need the rule?
no. I'm saying, though, to Tim's point, and your example was good. You said your daughter comes in on your name and goes in and plays with an associate member. I mean, that's a gray area.
Well, I was going to say the same thing. So my daughter is on my permanent guest list, and she comes and goes for a year as my guest. It's just a convenience thing. She makes friends in the community. They go, hey, let's go play pickleball. They're a member, and she could technically get cited even though she's here as my guest and she's invited to go play pickleball with another member. By the way you're proposing this is changed, she would be cited for playing with the wrong member, which is kind of complicated, I think.
Yeah, I see that. So maybe what we should do is rethink this, come back again, and improve this rule.
Sorry, are you now making a motion to table PK 2.11?
Yes.
We've already got a first and a second.
Well, it was on an amendment, so you're amending your first amendment to now
Yes,
table it.
Thank you.
All
Yes.
right, so do I have a second? Thank you, Tim. Do we have a second to table Rule PK 2.11 and go back to the Rules Committee?
Correct.
Yeah, I'll second that because I'm confused.
All right.
I think we made it a lot more confusing than it needs to be. It's pretty simple about having a member present to use our amenities. And that's any member, right? The way his first amendment was to it was to make sure only the person who called him in had to be there. We just want to make sure that we're a member. And the rules, the way it was written with Amanda and everything, it is pretty clear and consistent with what we have in the community already.
My comment, if you go down to the pickleball courts, there is always a member present playing pickleball.
But did that member invite you?
I think something important to remember
I'm confused
is
about.
that member has to claim that guest. So if there's a rowdy guest, the member would say, no, I don't know that person. Community patrol is going to search that guest name and they're going to find who called them in regardless.
Steve Liebring is here, and so I'm with Steve. Okay. A member has to say that I'm with Eric.
One member of the community can call you in on their permanent guest list. And if you're here playing on a court against or with another friend of yours who is a member and they claim you that day, then you won't be cited because the wrong person didn't call you in that day.
And just a reminder, the Rules Committee had the privilege of having three pickleball, but two pickleball people there to help give guidance on this rule. So, what? Oh, okay. During that Rules Committee, when you were typing it up as everyone was talking, and I was at that meeting, and all of a sudden it appeared on screen exactly what everyone was trying to say. So I just want to give some insight that Pickleball Club was definitely involved in the creation of this rule, of PK 2.11 as is.
I will add that clarification helped a lot, so thank you. Even though for those of you who are watching this, may have seemed a little convoluted, it certainly clarified my mind, so thank you.
Well, and a lot of this, for those who, well, they probably already know, we can't talk about this stuff until we're in open session. This is where we, dig through the weeds. So we do have a first and a second to table. Is there another motion? Do you want to amend that motion or you want to keep it table? Okay, so we're just going to call for a vote on that. All in favor of tabling this, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Aye.
No.
Shall we do a roll call?
Yeah, do a roll call vote. Thank you, Harmon.
Director Alex Cook,
No.
Director, trying to remember, Doherty?
Aye.
Yes. Okay. Director Van Vliet?
I'm okay with it the way it's written, so no, I believe now that it's clarified, I'm okay with the clarification.
Okay. Director Tim Cook? President Griffiths? 4 against, motion fails.
All right, is there another motion for?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the rule as it's written.
Second.
All right, any discussion? All in
So
favor?
just again, just to state for the last time, and again, just to belabor, beat this dead horse one more time. So that as long as the person is called in, but as long as the person is playing with a member who claims that person, they're allowed to use our amenity. That's the intent and how it's written, correct? Thank you.
So if the guest is beating the member, they may just say, I don't claim you. So with that, any other more discussion on this? All right, all in favor of approving PK 2.11, say aye.
Aye.
5 in favor, motion carried.
That was fun. Thank you, Amanda.
Only 7 more.
Only 7 more. Thank you, Amanda.
This next one is just to approve a new rule for the pump track entry gate. To read that the entry gate shall not be propped or intentionally left open by any member, carrying a $50 fine.
Is there a motion?
Motion approved.
Second.
Second. Board discussion?
This is a rule that we have to have to be consistent with our insurance policy, right? Or it's for a liability thing. That's the reason for the rule.
We're hoping to discourage people from leaving that gate open so we can track who's actually using the facility. If they leave it open, it's just a free-for-all. So we're hoping this rule discourages that. There was nothing really in place before.
So in order to participate on the pump track, you have to sign a waiver, get a sticker and so forth. And if we leave it propped open all the time, it kind of leaves that where anyone could do it, and it limits our ability to enforce. Is that correct? Thank you.
Any other board discussion? All right, all in favor of approving new rule PT 1.12 entry gate, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Harmony? Or
I'm
just letting
sorry,
you know.
I missed it. Can I
Five
have
in,
the-
PT 1.12, 5 in favor, motion carried.
Can I get who motioned and made a second, please? Okay, thank you.
All right, Amanda?
This is another approval for estates access control, essentially to include the streets of Black Horse and Sorrel who currently don't have gates, to try and discourage and prevent non-residents from parking on those streets. I won't read the whole thing, but the major changes are that you'll need to have a decal or guest pass displayed when parking on those 2 streets, or you'll be cited and asked to leave.
All right, board, and if you want to take your time to reread through that, if you're good, I can hear a motion.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any board discussion?
Just one, and then under GR 6.14.c, it goes through, ways you can gain access is through membership cards, RFID transponders, or call-ins. Can they also use Dwelling Live? Are they able to use Dwelling Live to? Yeah, it's the same. It is, okay. I didn't know if we should call it out or not. call-in / dwelling live. It's a minor nitnote.
I wouldn't recommend putting, sorry, dwelling live only if in the future we change our access control system.
All right, all in favor of approving revised rule GR 6.14, estate access control, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
5 in favor, motion carried.
This is another approval retaining or pertaining to the equestrian center. Again, I won't read the whole thing, but the major changes here is basically to allow members and their horses to utilize all the arenas there. Previously, many of the arenas had specific purposes and were being underutilized. So this will allow people who want to hand walk their elderly horses to use the most ideal arena, but it'll still give priority to those who are actually riding. So they would leave if a rider appeared.
Great, thank you. Is there a motion?
Motion approved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any board discussion? All in favor of approving revised rule EC 3.2, horses are to be under saddle, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
5 in favor, motion carried.
All right, it's been requested that we take a short 5-minute break. So we're gonna take a quick little break. we're going to call this back to order. Ready? All right, are we ready? All right, let's move on. So we're not here forever. All right, we are still with Amanda. Rule 8.13, 20-day reading to revise EC 5.3, indemnification required for bringing horses into facility. Amanda.
So this proposal is just staff wanting to make the actual rule for indemnification for day use consistent with the internal policy that's already being enforced. If you take a look at the second page, it's really just adding in the requirements for day use at the equestrian center, time frame, copy of bill of sale is required, the specific vaccinations required, the liability insurance with CLPOA listed as additional insured, of course, the appropriate waivers complete, and that this documentation must be submitted to operations for review within a certain time frame. So you can go ahead and read that revised rule. And again, this is already required there through internal policy. It's just a little more concrete having it in the rule as well.
Great, thank you, Amanda. Is there a motion?
Aye.
Motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Getting ahead of myself.
Is there- Board discussion. I love you, Alex. Board discussion. All in favor of wait, board discussion? Yeah? No, okay, all in favor of approving, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Five
There we
in favor, motion carried. Is that correct?
8.14, 20-day reading revised rule GR 3.8 on leases. Amanda?
And I apologize, this background is missing due to my typo, but the revised version was sent to Harmony. But basically, this is another staff recommendation to essentially remove the requirements for member services staff to review a homeowner and tenant's personal lease payment documentation. Basically, we've had this really weird rule for month-to-month leases that is really inconsistent with all of our other habits of not looking into personal documentation between landlord and tenant. And it previously required them for a month-to-month lease to submit proof of their rent payment to us every month, but we don't look at their personal leases. We don't really deal with anything if they're going to evict a tenant. We just deal with POA forms. So it doesn't make sense for us to look at their rent payments or exchange of funds. So this is just a slight change, removing that requirement and just requiring that they have to submit a new form every month, reauthorizing that lease.
I would hate to have a month-to-month tenant. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second? All right, board discussion?
So so we're going to require, if it's a month-to-month lease, so let's say somebody had an annual lease and then they're going month-to-month, we're going to require a new lease agreement every month?
We currently already do, so that's not changing. And again, we don't look at their personal lease agreement. It's a form they pick up right in our office. They fill it out, sign it, and that's what's on file for the entire month. So let's say from one month to the next, they want to increase the number of decals that member can get for a vehicle. They could make that change.
But they have to do it every single month?
Yes.
Wow.
There's currently only one property in the whole community that does this, just to
Any other board discussion? All right, all in favor of approving revised rule GR 3.8, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Five in favor, motion carried.
Thank you. Next is 8.15, 28-day reading revised rule GR 4.2C, maximum number of permits.
This is another staff recommendation to just become more consistent with other policies. Currently, as you know, everything really runs per our fiscal year here, boat registration renewal, annual golf assessments, et cetera. Garage sale permits, the rule currently reads you can have 3 per calendar year. Very small change there in the verbiage, but having this run per fiscal year will be much easier for my staff to track. So it's not changing the number of garage sales you can have. It's not changing anything else about garage sales, just the time frame in which you can have those 3. So it'll all be consistent with our fiscal year.
Great. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any board discussion? All in favor of approving revised rule GR 4.2C, say aye. Aye.
5 in favor, motion carried.
Great, thank you. And 8.16, 28-day reading, revised rule PT 1.4.
And this one is last but not least. It was determined really from community feedback and also at the last board meeting that 5 miles per hour at our new pump track was too slow. And so after a little bit of research on our insurance requirements, staff is recommending that we remove the speed limit from the rule. And you can see on the next page, it's just removing that 5 mile per hour limitation.
Perfect. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Okay, we got a first and a second. The order? You choose. Any board discussion on this item?
Just one. This is one, obviously, we received a bit of feedback from our community. I know we don't have many left here, but there are a few online. And it's always good, I think, to hear from the community. And I think it reinforces the benefit of these 28-day reads as we can get good feedback from the community to help us weigh in. I know we went through and did a bit of research and looked at, I think, every other pump track in the country and found that, yeah, they don't have speed limits on them. And it's also good to see, again, if you go to the pump track facility, the kids do a really good job of kind of self-managing. If there's smaller ones on there, they kind of let the smaller ones go. And then when they've done their lap around the track, then the faster ones go and they do a good job. So I think this is good outreach from the community and a good decision by staff.
Yeah, and I'd like to thank everyone again for emailing the board. That was incredibly helpful. When we made the decision last month, part of it was we were going to be researching on the insurance. I want to thank staff for doing that in a very gingerly way, not to raise any issues with our insurance carriers as to why we're inquiring about that or diving a little bit deeper on that. So thank you for that and handling it very well. And I agree with everything that Bill said. They just regulate themselves. The kids are fantastic. Any other board discussion on this item? All right, all in favor of approving?
Aye.
Aye.
Say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
5 in favor, motion carried.
Our last item is approval 2023 Water Sports Clubs Lake Youth Rules Variance.
Yes,
Are you
so
handling
I'll
that?
be presenting, yes, Ms. President. So last month, the staff submitted the annual 2023 calendar and rules variance request. Inadvertently, we had left one rules variance off of the list. So 9.2 that you'll see highlighted in red is the one rule variance that we'd like to add. We just submitted the list as a whole so we could keep it consistent. But the one rule variance that we're requesting approval on is life jackets required for all skiers and riders for their specific events.
Thank you, Lynn. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any board discussion?
Just a clarification. Life jackets are required for all skiers and riders to be worn.
Well, so these are the current rules that are in place, but they're asking for a variance of these rules for their particular events. The ski clubs themselves, if I'm saying this correctly, Scott, has a trick event, I believe it is, that they do not wear them for.
Oh, you don't wear them on the
Just for that
striking?
event. And so they need certain individuals, yes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So similar to Fiesta Day, we submit this list of rules variances, asking the board to give us permission for these particular events to allow us to essentially not follow that rule for that day.
So when you have those events, is there first aid or AMR or somebody on site? I mean, not just other boats that you got close by. There's somebody that is You guys have at each event that's certified and stuff? Okay, thank you.
Any other board discussion? All right, all in favor of approving the Lake Rules variance request for 2023, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
5 in favor, motion carried.
Thank you. And those events are always fun to watch, by the way. And then now we're on to association report. Eric?
We have a pretty long agenda, so I'll be brief. As usual, I like to refer people to the agendas on our website. This month's agenda for the open session is 79 pages long. Our staff reports start on page 57 and go through page 79. A lot of good information in there. People often say they don't know what's going on here, and we go to great efforts to try and tell them, and that's where you'll find the information. So that and our communications, and every department has a report in every month's agenda, and so I encourage everyone to look at that. Real quickly on projects, Joe Kamasian mentioned earlier, during the overseating closure, we made some nice upgrades there, some wood accent walls, new larger TVs, greatly increased some of the bar functions for the staff on the staff side of the bar. And the biggest, most noticeable one is the new shade structure outside. We have a few other improvements planned for the Magnolia Room downstairs, and continually trying to improve that facility. The Kenyon Lake Drive South medians, that project is out to bid. We actually extended the bid date to November 8th. And after we get bids in, we will break those down and tabulate those and present the bid results to the board, and we'll let the board decide if they want to move forward with that project. Solar project is moving forward. As we get closer to breaking ground and milestones, we'll let you know. We do have permits for that project, and contractor is fabricating the structures. Vacation park, our exercise equipment and playground equipment are scheduled for later this month. We're hoping if they actually show up this time, that we will have some kind of a groundbreaking or a ribbon cutting grand opening ceremony in December. And that's all I have this month.
Thank you, Eric. We'll move on to board comments. I'll start down the line at Alex.
I just want to say, just love living here. After, these holiday weekends we come out of, Halloween seems to be a bigger and bigger holiday for our community every year. It's amazing how many people spend the time and energy and money to decorate their houses. It's incredible. It seemed, I spent all night or 3 hours Sunday night in my golf cart cruising around, checking out as many houses as I can. And then last night, gave candy out to nearly 100 kids. So it's just super awesome to see how this community comes together and never misses an opportunity to have fun. So I just want to say thank you to everybody for participating. It really makes everything better. Thank you.
Alex, to your point, Halloween was a blast. We had, by my best guess, on Blue Teal, next to Diamond Point Park, 500 kids or more at our house, and we had a lot of fun. And those kids were great. They said thank you, almost every one of them, with a smile on their face and great costumes. So it was really, really great. In my ongoing quest to become a better board member, I attended another committee meeting last week, that being the Appeals Committee. I still say that the ACC is the hardest working committee in this community, but I will give ACC, from what I saw, just again, accolades for being tough but fair. That's how I would characterize them. They were very professional. They have been doing this a while. If you go before them, have your ducks in order, because they can see through a lot of things just from their experience. But I was, again, very impressed by their professionalism, and look forward to going to another of those meetings. It was really entertaining as well.
Tim?
So I'm the board liaison for ACC, and every month it seems like I give them their little kudos. But I don't think the community really realizes how much time and effort these guys put in, and it's just amazing. For the last 2 weeks in a row, we've had over 110 items, inspections, permits that we have to go through, that they go through, excuse me. And it's just amazing. It takes a huge amount of time. These guys work on Tuesday, starting at 8 o'clock in the morning and get done sometimes at 4 or 5, reviewing plans, and then Thursday, the whole day from 7 in the morning to 4 o'clock. It's a huge amount of volunteer time with not one penny of compensation, and I really appreciate the job that they do. Beside that, I love where we live. Halloween was amazing. I want to thank Shauna Bowen and the Family Matters group for continuing on this contest or whatever you call it that they had going on, and really exciting, the competition that's going, but just amazing to see the creativity that people have and the decorations that were up there. It was quite a blast. I had my kids are here from Alaska, and I got to take my granddaughter from Alaska out trick-or-treating, and quite an event, and I just love the whole thing. So this community is amazing, never disappoints. It's just awesome. Thank you.
Bill?
Yeah, I agree with what everyone has said. I've been here back a month now. It's good to be back. And October is a good time to be here. A lot of great events are put on. So I'd like to thank the staff and the clubs that did Rocktoberfest, the Family Matters Trunk or Treat. There was the Clams had a big event. And then there were events both at the lodge and the country club that were all nice. In terms of Halloween, we talk about a lot of the kids and so forth in our neighborhood, and my wife and I were gone. We took our grandkids trick-or-treating, and so we left out a big bowl of candy on our doorstep. And I got to tell you, we left a note saying, "Hey, take 2 or 3 pieces and leave some for everybody." When we came back at the end of the night about 9 o'clock, there's still candy left in that bowl. And so I got to tell you, all the kids were very respectful. They were good, and you know what? I would say the preponderance of the people and the children in this community are well parented and good kids. So they're very good. I would like, let's see, November's here and upon us. We have an important election in our country next Tuesday. So I want to encourage everyone to get out and to do your civic duty and vote within the next week.
That is a good reminder. What? Okay, then we'll go back to you. I'd like to thank, I think I'm on a roll with everyone else on Family Matters for their trunk or treat carnival Halloween costume. I was able to go over there for a little bit, and the kids are so excited and they were so adorable, and the parents were delighted. It was fantastic. And of course, the fire department was there handing out stuff. So it was extra fun seeing little kids dressed up as firemen and having their pictures taken on the fire truck next to a real fireman, creating some wonderful memories. So I'd like to thank Family Matters for putting that on. Shout out to Junior Women's Club for Rocktoberfest and to all the members who stayed out in the rain and enjoyed some amazing beer. It was a great fundraiser for us. I'd like to thank, though it happened outside the gate, it was fantastic. The Chamber of Commerce, Canyon Lake Chamber of Commerce put on an amazing event over this past weekend to drive businesses to our wonderful city, and parade, costume contests and parades, and they just did a spectacular job at that. And then of course our operations team, because a lot of this happens, including the chamber, operations went over and helped with all the chairs and with the setup. They certainly took care of us and helped us at Rocktoberfest and all these events. Our parks are clean because of them. Everything's beautiful because of them. So a huge shout out. Upcoming events for shopping. Are you ready? This weekend, the Senior Center is having their fundraiser. It's a holiday boutique. It is from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. this Saturday and Sunday. They're going to have over 40 vendors. Every item is handcrafted by the vendor that is selling it. So it's not handcrafted by some kid in some other foreign country. They made it themselves. So it's a great event. I encourage you to go to that. And then also on November 19th is another shopping day. And this is another fundraiser, Junior Women's Club, the Sip and Shop. It'll be here at the lodge, and our lodge manager, Laura, is fantastic, and they're going to open up early and create a specialty drink and a menu. So come on down, and you don't have to go to Amazon, just shop in Canyon Lake. Nope, two more things. I just lied. Two more things. December 4th, because our next board meeting is after that, but December 4th, Sunday, is the golf cart parade toy drive. So you want to make sure you mark that on your calendar. You'll see a lot of information coming out on that, but that's a fun family event that the POA puts on along with the golf cart club. And then for all the events, what I highly recommend, because I always have people wondering, or I see posts on Facebook, not knowing that an event happened or wanting to know when it is going to happen, just simply go to the Canyon Lake POA website. That's all you have to do. I mean, you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram. I always recommend that. But if you go to the events portion on the website, everything's listed. If you want to go to the calendar, everything else is listed. So if you're wondering on a Tuesday what you can do, just go on the calendar and you'll find something to do here in Canyon Lake. And back to Tim.
Yeah, I forgot Veterans Day. So City of Canyon Lake, excuse me, City of Canyon Lake this year is still doing their Veterans event. It's not at the town center. It's going to be at Holiday Harbor. 3 o'clock the event starts, 4 o'clock the warbirds fly over. There's no official golf cart parade this year. There may or may not be an unofficial golf cart parade at 2 o'clock. Just hearing through the grapevine. Thank you, that's it.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second? Second. All right, we're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.